You claim that there is no answer to be found, but history stands against you. The great thinker Socrates completed the task and was granted his wish. His answer had to be approved for this to occur. Clearly there is an answer it is possible to find. So you see, Socrates, the answer to morality is clearly findable. If it were not, the great thinker would not have been able to find it. You're assuming that he did find it. ... That ... question mark. He ... may have me actually. I've forgotten about the first Socrates exploits. If you found the answer, I can't really argue with that ... Then this is really the end. Oh no! Really? Now you can understand why I cannot accept your answer. You agree that continuing this debate would be foolish, yes? Is this it? Do I have to concede? Even though we've come so far, blah blah blah.
Nonsense!
Yo, what? Protagoras. Worry not, old friend, there's hope yet. Friendship, the magic of friendship. Protagoras? Not just Protagoras. What are you all doing here? We have come to back you up, old chap. Wait, how many of them are there? There's 4 of them there. Weren't there more? But why? Why? Ingratitude is the essence of vileness. Bro, you're just making stuff up. I gained much from our discussion, now is the time to return the favor. You are in trouble, and the imperative dictates that I assist. Helping a dying man added to the idea slate. Okay, that's good. Exactly, there's no happiness to be gained from watching a friend struggle. I can be most useful here, assisting you from the sidelines. Good as happiness, added to the idea slate. We formed a contract to find the answer and I must follow it to the end. People work together, added to the idea slate. You prefer... and you prefer... My child, you are still a blasphemer. Rest assured that God will smite you one day. But until then, I suppose I can lend you a hand. Being men, we are all incredibly flawed. Our only hope lies in helping each other. Mankind is flawed, added to the idea slate. Oh, this is so sweet. So there's 5 of them, plus me, that's 6. Wait, there's 6 of us. Friendship. Thank you, all of you. Alright, Arbiter, I'm not going to give up just yet. This is deteriorating into madness, Socrates. But very well, I should entertain you a little longer. You claim that there is no answer to be found, but history stands against you. The great thinker Socrates completed the task and was granted his wish. His answer had to be approved for this to occur. Clearly there is an answer, and it is possible to find. Socrates! Hi. Yes, Mill? I think I see what is wrong here. You have to dig back for this one. Way, way back. Well, that's as vague of a hint as you can possibly give. You claim there's no answer to be found, but history stands against you. The great thinker Socrates completed the task and was granted his wish. Ask for clarification. What do you mean by this? Many centuries ago, Socrates came to the current arbiter. Actually, no. What do you mean to say is Socrates came to the arbiter at the time, claiming he had found the answer to morality. This was the last anyone ever saw of him. Can you back this up? Socrates' abstinence from this plane is quite conspicuous. Indeed, we have all missed a great thinker. You saw the stir you created just by sharing his name. I don't need much evidence to show that he was granted an exit. Relevance? How is this related to your conclusion? It shows that what you're claiming to be impossible is clearly possible, as it has happened in the past, alright? His answer had to be approved for this to occur. Ask for clarification. What do you mean by this? It is quite simple. If his answer had not been determined to be correct, none of this could have happened. But who determined it to be correct? Press for backing. Can you back this up? The story has been told countless times, Socrates. Indeed, it is a legend in this realm. Scripture, even. Okay, I get it. Question relevance? How is this related to your conclusion? Socrates, the approval is in fact evidence supporting the great thinker actually found the answer. After all, it's difficult to believe these things are true. No, without the judgment of the previous arbiter verifying his answer was indeed correct, I suppose many would have trouble believing it. Huh, interesting. We should take note of this, my friend. Alright? His answer had to be approved for this to occur. The arbiter's approval make the validity of his answer undoubtable. Ask for clarification. What do you mean by this? I mean that the original arbiter's judgment is what lets us know Socrates was correct. It's rather straightforward, really. Principal backing, can you back that up? Socrates, the original arbiter, was widely respected in this world. Do you really intend to question his judgment? Challenge? How your face is ugly, that's not gonna work. Having a dying man, good as having his people, mankind is flawed.
Nonsense!
Arbiter! What now, Socrates? You claim that we can be sure that Socrates found the answer. Correct? And we can know this for sure because your predecessor verified its validity. Indeed. That's what I thought. Well, in order to demonstrate what's wrong with the argument, I'm going to cite one of my colleagues here. Euthyphro! Yes, my child? Do you remember your statements on wisdom of man? Of course. Human beings are fallible and vain. They make mistakes. God... okay, that's quite enough preaching, thank you. Now, Arbiter, let me make this clear for you. Euthyphro may have been wrong about where morality comes from, but he was right about this. Human beings are far from perfect. We can never forget this. And as flawed beings, the answers we formulate will be similarly flawed. As a result, I found it hard to believe that Socrates really did find the answer. What? Pwned. The fact is, as imperfect beings, we must always remember that we are flawed. The moment we go far enough to claim that our answer is perfect, we close our minds. Yeah, it is true, I know from experience. Yes, Kant, yes you do. I too have fallen into this trap. Indeed, even the best of us can succumb. For this reason, we must never assume we have the answer. But Socrates, the first arbiter, are both human, or human-like entities at the very least. Regardless, how do we know that their judgment, their answer, was not an error? You have admitted to your fair share of mistakes today. There is no reason that the previous arbiter couldn't have made them some as well. You can't base the credibility of your entire argument upon an appeal to authority. Well put, Socrates. Thank you. Indeed, even I am convinced you could be wrong all these years ago. Right. Arbiter, if a false conclusion was presented convincingly enough, even your predecessor could have made such a mistake, thus leading to the discovery of an answer that was actually impossible to find. It is possible that a perfect answer is still outside of our reach. So as you can see, you haven't proven anything.
Nonsense!
Alright, Socrates, you have a point, I confess that. Even with the backing of the original arbiter, I cannot prove that an answer exists. However, before you go and celebrate, I wish to point out that you cannot reasonably prove that it does not. With us as such an impasse, it all boils down to a matter of potential consequences. Let us assume just for a moment that what you have postulated here is true. Let us say for a moment that morality cannot be found. I cannot believe you truly understand the consequences of what you are suggesting. Let me show you why what you claim cannot possibly be right. Presentation. Socrates, you have just argued that we can never be sure of our answers. If that is the case, then there is no point in to do what we do here. We might as well all give up and become accountants. Well, maybe you should become accountants. There's no way we can accept the theory without such horrible consequences. And that is my position on the matter. No, you need to do better than that, bro. How can you say such a thing, Arbiter? You have just devalued everything we do here. There's no happiness to be gained from that. I'm merely showing the worrisome implication of Socrates Jones's arguments. If you take issue with them, you should take it up with him. Can I take issue with your face? I knew it. You were up to no good, my child. Go away, bro. Go away. Shut up, bro. The arbiter is clearly strawmanning Dad, distorting his argument in order to make it sound weaker. Dad doesn't actually want everyone to become accountants, right? Well, there's a lot of accounts to be counted. Of course not. Okay, thank the gods. Arbiter, you must be getting desperate to resort to such tricks. Even if what you said were true, the fact that the conclusion is uncomfortable does not mean it should be ignored.
Nonsense!
It does, however, mean that we should be wary of accepting it. I must confess, though, chap, I would find it hard to believe anything that created such a outcome. As would I, it would be foolish to jump into water so brimming with sharks. Well then, I suppose you just have to show that there are no sharks, won't I? Yes, I will. That the consequences of my argument are not nearly so disastrous. Very well, Socrates, but first let me make an ultimatum. This is your last chance. My last what? You gave your answer, the game is already over. It is only through my mercy that it continues. And your damaging claims are beginning to wear my mercy thin. Bro, you're wrong! Shut up! If you cannot show why this conclusion isn't disastrous, I will refuse to accept it as you once refused Hobbes. I find it impossible to believe that the answer will be one that made the search itself meaningless. But it doesn't. So again, this is your last chance. Alright, Arbiter, one last chance is all I need. I'll show you once and for all why my viewpoint can stand. Socrates, you have just argued that we can never be sure of our answers. True. If that is the case, there's no point to what we do here. Clarify. What do you mean by this? I mean that we, as philosophers, serve no purpose if your ridiculous conclusions is allowed to stand. I believe that thought is pretty clear enough for me to wonder if you're wasting my time. No, you're wasting my time. Back that up. Can you back that up? Yes, please do. The logic that supports this idea is fairly intuitive, but I should spell it out. If your conclusion stands, then our efforts to define morality have always been reaching for an impossible goal. True. Reaching for something that is forever out of our grasp. New statement added. And if that goal is impossible, all our effort towards it is clearly a waste. Do you guys see the problem with that? Just because you can't achieve something doesn't mean you shouldn't try. For example, just because we can't seem to achieve world peace doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make peace in the world, right? Or, just because it's impossible for people to be happy all the time, it doesn't mean we shouldn't try to be happy. You see what I mean? Like, maybe it's impossible for me to be a billionaire. Doesn't mean I shouldn't try to become a billionaire. I might make some money along the way, you see what I mean? If your road doesn't lead anywhere, what's the point of building them? New statement added. With these 2 points laid bare, there can be little doubt that our efforts are useless. No, you are useless. Boneface. With that said, though, I don't think we should forget these points. I'd like to look at them a little more closely. If that's the case, then there's no point to what we do here. Hold on. We are striving in vain towards something which cannot be accomplished. Ask for clarification. What do you mean by this? As philosophers, it is our duty to seek answers to questions such as the nature of morality. Okay. But if your conclusion was accepted as true, no matter how hard we work, these questions will never be answered. They have been answered a lot of times. It's just the answer is not perfect. But perfection is not something that's even possible, really. Doesn't mean that there's no answers. There are a lot of answers. Just none of them are flawless. Are we striving towards something accomplished? Question relevance. How is this related to your conclusion? If your last conclusion was true, then this is the situation in which all philosophers have found themselves. Establishing it helps detail our futility. And if we cannot achieve our goal, there's no reason to try. Clarify. I don't understand. Can you elaborate? Socrates, the duty of every moral philosopher is to create a perfect definition of morality. No, it's not. If it is, then everybody has failed. This is what we all work so hard for, and if we can't find a perfect answer, our efforts are in vain. I believe that all of this has been made clear before. Statement updated. But not as clear as it was made now. Our efforts are worth nothing unless we are able to obtain perfection. Press for backing. Can you back that up? Must I really? It strikes me as fairly obvious. A perfect answer is the only answer worth pursuing. Perfection is indeed desirable, but yeah, it is elusive. Challenge. I forgot which one we're supposed to do. Good as happiness?
Nonsense!
Arbiter! I think I finally figured out what's wrong with your entire position. Have you now? Remember, you will not get another chance. I know, and I don't need one. This Arbiter is the end. Very well, Socrates. Tell me then, what is wrong with my position? It's quite simple, really, a classic fallacy. You are assuming here that a solution must be perfect to have value, but this is not the case. In fact, such an assumption strikes me as fundamentally wrong. Exclamation! Exclamation, exclamation! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation! Exclamation, 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 exclamation! ... I just realized that over 1/2 of us has facial hair. It's true, Kant, it's true. I'm not sure how to cope with my distress. Right, anyway. Perfection is, as a general rule, an attractive prospect in every field, but things do not have to be perfect to add value to the world. Aha! Let us look at art. Even works as great as the Statue of David or the Mona Lisa are not without their flaws. But despite their flaws, can there be any doubt that the world is a brighter place because these works exist? Oh, it's as Mills would say, they are still good because they increase happiness. Exactly, whether or not Mill's ideas dominate, increasing overall happiness is certainly one way an imperfect work can contribute. But under your logic, none of these works would have meaning. That's the real disastrous conclusion here. There's no happiness to be gained from that. Huh. Look at the people around you, Arbiter. All these philosophers came forward with their own visions of morality. Ultimately, their views all turned out to be flawed, but does that make their ideas worthless? Of course not. Their theories have had a profound positive impact on the world. Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of philosophies that have profound negative impacts on the world as well. Things like eugenics. Eugenics, I don't know if you guys understand what eugenics is. Eugenics is basically deliberately breeding for good genes. Like you take smart people and have them make babies with other smart people to increase the intelligence of the babies. Except that the problem with that is that people are trying to choose what they think are good. But what people think are good usually aren't good. Like what the Germans did. Like the Germans went for eugenics and they believed in racial purity and all that sort of stuff and racial superiority. But in the end, they went for things like blue eyes and blonde hair, rather than, for example, intelligence or disease resistance or strong, healthy bodies or anything like that. Like they went for cosmetic things. The eugenicists. Because it looks good to them, like blue eyes and blonde hair. When in fact, like I think Africans have greater resistance to most diseases. I know that Africans have the greatest genetic diversity. I mean, that's where the humans originated. And if you look at the genes or look at the DNA of the different ethnic groups, Africans tend to have the most diverse genes out of all the other groups. If that makes sense. I mean, you might have to just look this up on the internet or something. But because people came out of Africa, so out of Africa, like one group of people from Africa went out to Europe, and then one group kind of went over to Asia, and then from Asia, one group of those Asians went over to the Americas. So as you kind of move further and further away from Africa, the gene pool becomes narrower and narrower because only one group from each place kind of moved on to the next place. And so the genetic diversity of Africa is much greater than anywhere else. So, black people actually have greater genetic resilience, as it were. Anyway, that's a side point. So what was my side point? The side point was eugenics. Like, if you kind of took that seriously, and if you're interested in producing kind of good genes, you would take it from Africans, you would take it from black people, because they have a greater pool of potential to work from at the start. So you'd start breeding Africans. You wouldn't start breeding blonde eyes and blonde hair and blue eyes, because those are recessive genes. I mean, people who have those genes, when there are fewer people with those genes than people with brown hair and brown eyes. So I mean, by going for those pretty looking people, they're already restricting their gene pool, and thus kind of going against what they say they're trying to do, which is to gather all the best genes from the people all around the world. So they're kind of judging white people and blue eyes as being better, when in fact genetically that's not true. Genetically you have more material to work from if you start with black people, as it were. So the problem with eugenics is not really the basic science of it. It's that when people make those decisions, they are biased against certain things. I mean, basically, the Nazis were racist, and they're trying to, you can't. But eugenics, you can't really be racist if you're taking eugenics seriously. So they're kind of doing it wrong, basically. Anyway. What I'm trying to say is some theories do not have a positive impact on the world, especially when they get misused, as it were.